our intergenerational Shabbat, I tell a story. So I want to tell a story that's connected to Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer is coming up in 2 weeks. And the Talmud tells a story of some of our sages who are sitting together, and they're looking, it's during the Roman occupation of the land, and they're looking at everything. And one of the sages says, Rabbi Yehuda says, look at what the Romans have done. If you've ever watched Monty Python's Life of Brian, there's a similar scene. Look at what the Romans have done. They're amazing. They build bridges, they build bathhouses, they build marketplaces, all of these incredible things. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai responds, everything they do for themselves. They do to enjoy themselves, to pamper themselves, to collect taxes. None of this is for us. And his comments spread. People hear him. They're sitting in the marketplace. People overheard him. And his comments spread until they're finally heard by the monarchy, who says, for denouncing our government, Shimon Bar Yochai will be killed. And hearing this, and knowing that discretion is the better part of valor, he and his son, Rabbi Elazar, run to the yeshiva, and they hide inside the yeshiva. And every day, Rabbi Shimon's wife would bring bread and water and food, and over time, Rabbi Shimon gets concerned that maybe someone will see her coming and will follow her, or they may even torture her about our whereabouts, and then we will be found out. And so he and his son leave, and they go and hide in a cave. And a miracle occurs. A bubbling spring pops up so they have water, and a carob tree grows right next to the cave. And each day they would remove their clothes and bury themselves in the sand so they could spend the day learning while still covered up. And then they would get up when it was time to pray, and they would put their clothes back on. And this way, over time, their clothes would not wear out. And this continued for 12 years. 12 years, every day they would bury themselves in the sand, and they would spend the day learning, and then they would get up and they would pray shacharit, and then they would bury themselves in the sand, and they would get up and pray mincha and mariv, and then they would bury themselves in the sand. And eventually, that king dies, and the decree is lifted, and Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Hanavi, comes to the outside of the cave and proclaims loudly, who will inform Bar Yochai that Caesar is dead? And they, of course, hear this, and they come out of their cave. Now, after 12 years of just learning and praying and not being involved in day-to-day life, everywhere that they look, as they see a man who is plowing and planting his field, and they look at him, and lasers, it's like laser vision, shoots from their eyes, and the person is burnt up, and they say, how in this world with our amazing God, how is it that people can just bother with everyday stuff? Why aren't they learning all the time? And a bat kol, a voice comes out of heaven and says, did you emerge from that cave just to destroy my world? Go back. I don't want to see you. Go back. And they go back to the cave. And after 12 months back in that cave, Rabbi Shimon says aloud to his son, how long should our punishment last? Even in Gehenna, it's only 12 months to do tshuva for your soul to understand. And so a bat kol hears this, and again, this voice from heaven says, okay, emerge from your cave. And they emerge, this time not setting the world on fire. And as they emerge, it's Erev Shabbat. And as the sun is beginning to set, they see a man running with 2 bundles of sticks. And they ask him, why do you have these? And he says, Likvod HaShabbat, therefore the honor of the Shabbat. And they say, wouldn't one of them suffice? I guess he's going to light them like we light candles. And the man answers, one corresponds to Zachor et Yom HaShabbat, remember the Shabbat, and the other is Shamor et HaShabbat, protect, guard, observe the Shabbat. And Rabbi Shimon turns to his son and he says, see how beloved the mitzvot are to our people. And they understand that there is a balance between prayer and learning and God and what we do every single day. And it's said that during this time while Rabbi Shimon lived, that no one in the land of Israel saw a rainbow. They were concerned with the Roman government. They were concerned with all of the problems they had, and no one saw a rainbow. And the story ends telling us, someday, Rabbi Elazar remembers that when his father dies, that he heard a prophecy. Someday, a rainbow will appear in the sky like none of us has ever seen. A rainbow that will represent, like the rainbow Noah saw after the flood, that will represent the covenant, the brit that God has with us. And it will be marked by the fulfillment of God's promise to us. V'yashuvu ish tachat gafno v'tachat tenato ve'en macharid. That each person will be able to sit under their own vine, their own fig tree, and no one shall be afraid. This is our promise. This is the promise we have. This is the promise we fight for every day, to live in our land free and unafraid. To paraphrase the words of Hatikva, Od lo avda tikvatenu, our hope is not lost. Hatikva bat shloshet alafim, lihiyot am chofshi ba'artzenu, Eretz Sion Yerushalayim. This is a dream of 3,000 years. Not only 2,000, but 3,000 years, to be a free people in our land, the land of Zion and Jerusalem. We know this hope. We live this hope. We eat and drink and breathe this hope. And until this hope, this dream is realized for us and our children, we will continue to do so forever. Shabbat Shalom.